Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today is the next update and final update here at my place, at my shop. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to try to do an overview of the build, the parts, components that have been used. I know I documented pretty much everything throughout the build process on my YouTube channel, Instagram and Facebook. But I figured I'd go through it one more time now that the whole truck is actually done as far as being built and fabricated. So let's do a little walk around and overview. All right, so everyone knows, well, unless you're new to the channel, this is a project that I took on from a buddy named Jeff, and he's out in Omaha, Nebraska. He had asked me a couple times if I would be interested in doing this build for him, and initially I didn't think I was gonna have time for it. But then after, I don't know, 5-6 months being asked, I actually came back to him and said, you know what, I think we could probably make this happen. And we started discussing the plans and the build. So this is a 84 Bronco II body, and that is original factory paint. I've heard it's very rare. I've never seen another one in this paint scheme, and it's definitely pretty cool. It's grown on me a ton. The body is sitting on a 90 Bronco II chassis. Not that it's much different. It's a super clean, really clean chassis. There was hardly even any surface rust on it, so it made it for the perfect platform to build off of. And again, for the body being an 84, all original, it's not perfect, but it's in very, very, very good shape. And Jeff plans on keeping it this exact color scheme. Which is pretty sweet. I like it. All right, so the main goal Jeff had was he really didn't want to have to cut too much into the body. He really wanted to keep the nice factory wheel wells and arches. And I wasn't sure if that was going to be 100% attainable. But since it is on a 2-inch body lift, that helps. And then this is it's my third actual build, but I've had my hands on 2 others. Brad's Bronco II and Riding Shotgun Adventures was done here at the barn. I helped Brad mostly with the 4-link setup on that truck. And then we have another one, John Parks with Broncos R Us. Although he's still on leaf springs and a James Duff radius arm kit, he is running full width, and he's got some potential changes and plans coming up with his truck. But as far as me touching these platforms, I've touched, like I said, 4 or 5 of these platforms now. So I have I'm pretty comfortable with stuff. The new thing with me working on these trucks is I've never actually done a 9-inch myself. Brian with Random Adventures has always run a 9-inch, but I've never actually done a 9-inch on any of my builds. The 9-inch versus a Ford 8.8 has a lot of advantages. The support and aftermarket support and parts available for a 9-inch is insane compared to a Ford 8.8. So I definitely recommend going right to a Ford 9-inch on a Bronco II Explorer Ranger build. Like I said, the aftermarket support is insane. Factory, they're 31 spline. You can buy 35 spline and even up to 40 spline axles for these now. And one of the nice parts of the 9-inch is it has a removable third member center section. And this one happens to be an aftermarket, I believe, trail gear. It's a high pinion, which really puts that pinion up 4.5, 5 more inches at least compared to stock. That's going to be a game changer as far as obstacles and going over rocks and stuff. So speaking of the 9-inch, it has a ARB air locker in it, and it's got 456 gears. So 456 gears, ARB air locker, and then axle shafts and rear brake disc kit is from Quick Performance. So since he already had the ARB air locker, he decided to stay with that unit, even though it was 31 spline. So we have 31 spline chromoly axle shafts from Quick Performance, like I was just saying, and then their bolt-on disc brake caliper kit. And that was super easy to put on, bolted right on. Really nice setup. So moving forward from the axle, let's talk about the 4-link. I'm really happy with this 4-link setup. So there was 4 bars already made for this project, and I decided to make those pre-made lower links work on this truck. It was originally being set up by somebody else to be a double triangulated 4-link. But I chose to go this route because of a couple things. With a double triangulated setup, your lower links move inboard to the chassis, and at full bump, your links are actually going to contact the frame and limit your up travel. So that was really the determining factor of why I went right to this triangulated 4-link right away. So I went ahead and used the length of lower links that was already pre-made, and I really like how that turned out. They're nice and long. They're at a nice, they're not at too much of an angle. So I started there. And then all of the brackets, lower link brackets, upper brackets, axle brackets, everything's from Barnes 4-wheel drive. They have a lot of sweet components and parts and pretty much anything that'll work for whatever you're doing. Let's see. Also on the 9-inch, second time I've used a TK1 on a build. Sway bar, off-road sway bar. I've loved the one on my Explorer. It just keeps the truck so stable. And Tony at TK1 is just, you can call him up, talk to him. He gets you exactly what you need. Choose your length of bars and your width. You even choose what color caps you want to run. Double shear, single shear. So this is a complete double shear setup on both sides of the links. And in part of my build planning was to run the sway bar through the chassis frame, and at full bump the upper links still clear that with no issues. So super happy with that. So rear and front are running ORI struts. We got 14-inch travel in the rear and 12-inch travel in the front. It's my first time doing a build with ORIs, although I have a good buddy, Mudwasp TV, who runs ORIs, and his two-door Cummins JK is amazing with that type of shock setup. Alright, so we'll move up to the front here. So the front has basically a matched full width Dana 44. So you would find a Dana 44 and a 9-inch housing, a match set out of like a 78, 79 full-size Bronco. Most common donors. They're nice axles, they're high pinions, which are stronger. So obviously this has matched 456 gears in the front, just like the rear. The axle that Jeff got already had a Eaton True Track front diff, so he opted to keep that for now, just so he can get the truck up and running and kind of get his feet wet in the whole off-road trail and mild rock crawling stuff. Down the road, if he needs to swap that out to an air locker, he can make that call. So inside the Dana 44 are RCV axle shafts, Reed Racing knuckles, right and left. And the reason why we go with the Reed Racing knuckles is because of the high steer. So the high steer arm, when you set up a truck like this, you want all your links, your drag link, your track bar as flat as possible, and you want both of them to be at the same angles and follow the same route of travel. So that's what having that high steer really makes that way more possible, other than using like a Y-link setup or whatever else you want to come up with. So in my opinion, best route to go. So the track bar setup, again, Barnes 4-wheel drive bracket for that. I always add additional gussets. That thing's not going anywhere. Before I even welded this on, I went ahead and took some 1/4-inch plate and made a huge frame plate, and then cut out holes and locations for the steering box bolts. So I got a 1/4-inch plate welded on. You can't see them right now, but I had a whole bunch of holes drilled and basically did rosette welds. So this plate is basically part of the frame. Super strong. Shock towers, front and rear, also from Barnes 4-wheel drive. 1/4-inch, super strong, super stout. Again, I got gussets and stuff wherever I can put them. They overhang the frame a lot. These things are not going anywhere. I will have to, can't remember off the top of my head. So the front axle here, it's hard to tell on video, but I was able to move the whole front setup here about 2.5 inches forward, more than what a stock James Duff solid axle swap set, or how that would normally sit. Moving the front 2.5 inches more forward was achievable because of this pitman arm. And this is what I was talking about. I can't remember what the spec was on that pitman arm, but basically it was a early 99 to 97 or 2000 Super Duty pitman arm. And the pitman arm itself is, I don't know, 1 3/4 inches longer, 1.5 inches longer than a stock pitman arm, and it's flat. And it uses the same spline as the steering gearbox. So that is really the key to moving this whole front axle that far forward. I first came across that pitman arm when I was doing my Explorer build. And my Explorer build, using all the 1-ton stuff, everything's bigger, larger, longer. So I ran that pitman arm on the Explorer, worked out with my stuff perfectly. I'm like, you know what? I bet that pitman arm would be a game changer on this setup. And it was. Let's see. So again, everything else on here, all the DOM tubing, the 1-ton tie rods, jam nuts, this stuff's all from Barnes 4-wheel drive as well. The high steer arm is from Rough Stuff Specialties. The lower track bar rise bracket is from Wild Horses 4x4. It's a huge Bronco aftermarket stock replacement stuff. That's where you'll find that bracket. That locates on the factory lower track bar bolt, and then you weld it on. It's got ram assist from PSC, and those are tabs that come with it. When you buy the kit, you get the heims, the bolts, the tabs. This right here, the steering tie rod bracket here, is from RPM Steering. It's a double shear, probably I think it's the best style mount you can get, being double shear and just how large and the size of it. Running a Dana 44 cover. What is it? Nodular iron. I think that's what that is. And brakes are, again, I'll have to remember the year, a 75 to 78 Thunderbird. Calipers are an upgrade on the Broncos. They essentially pretty much bolt on, or they do bolt on. You just have to do a little bit of grinding, which you can't see, but there's a little bit of grinding on the knuckle, just with the backside where the piston in the housing is. And that gives you, I don't know, 35% more braking power, larger piston. So that the brakes have been upgraded on the front as well. All of my steel braided brake hoses, there's a shop here local to me in Livonia, Michigan. I think it's Livonia Transmission and Rubber. They make custom brake lines, hydraulic hoses, everything. It's really sweet. Let's see, where else are we here? Drive shafts front and rear are from Tom Woods. Again, after you build a rig, you set up your ride height, full bump, full stuff, do all your measurements, and they basically make you a drive shaft and have it to you in 4 to 7 days, if that. So drive shafts front and rear, Tom Woods. Tom Woods also had the slip yoke eliminator kit for this GM 241C manual transfer case. So that was also a product from Tom Woods. And we're running 17x9 Dirty Life beadlock wheels. Worn premium lockout hubs on the front. These tires are something that Jeff got really cheap. So he figured he'd just try these out for now. And I also needed something. I needed to have the correct size tire to start setting up the whole build anyway. So he's going to see how these tires run. They are called the Country Hunter MTs by Fury Off-Road, I guess. Those may stay, may not. But it helped me get the build going. Rock sliders are from Trail Gear. And I was very surprised when I opened the box. The actual slider themselves are pre-welded. So that really made me happy. And then I went ahead and basically for the length that these are, I think they're 60-inch. Generally they only do 3 legs. But I went ahead and did 4 legs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that way it's super, super strong. And I made these bolt on. So Trail Gear also sells the frame plates separately. I don't know if they were separate or they came with it. I can't remember. And then I made a whole bunch of gussets, and then everything's 1/2-inch grade 8 hardware. They're actually so strong that I actually tested them out and lifted from the front and rear leg on my hoist and put this thing in the air, and there was virtually no flex in the sliders. So that's super cool. And then it's got the LS 5.3. And I can't remember, but it's got a V8 swap LS header kit. I want to say for an S10 or Blazer. I'll have to figure that out and post that later. They fit pretty good. Jeff had test fit them before he brought it here. You have to notch the frame a little bit on the passenger side. Driver's side, they're good. It's just where the collector's at that'll have to be modified with the exhaust shop. Steering has a Borgeson shaft kit. It comes, I don't know, almost 2 feet long probably. Then you cut it down and make it how you want it. Was very close to the header. It looks like it's touching, but it's not. It's just the rubber boot. But that's all set. Nice heavy-duty Borgeson shaft. And the steering gearbox is a blue top. And the blue top is, I don't know, like it's a rebuilt, refurbished, upgraded box. And then you can have it come pre-tapped for hydro assist lines. So that's all the steering system here. So braking and steering from Sweeting Performance. So what is it? SweetingPerformanceBrakes.net, I think. They sell Hydro Boost kits. I put the Hydro Boost in my Explorer, and that is amazing. I pretty much knew I needed it regardless because I was doing the whole 1-ton everything, and I really wanted to make sure that I could stop, and I wanted to be able to hold the truck on any form of obstacle possible without it moving. So I love the Hydro Boost brakes. So that's what Jeff opted to do on his truck as well. Basically the same setup, slightly different master cylinder. So it's got Hydro Boost, and that's all connected and routed to the power steering. And power steering pump is a upgraded pump from PSC again. What is it, 1400 psi and 3.8 gallons per minute. That way it produces enough power and flow rate to run Hydro Boost, steering, and Ram Assist all in one. The brackets Jeff used, he had this stuff done ahead of time. ICT is a company that makes, I guess, just pretty much any style LS front engine dress bracket you could possibly want. And these brackets are super stout. Front and back brackets, spacers down the middle. I mean, these things are super, super strong. He's got that set up on the power steering pump as well as the alternator. And with the LS, I mean, it comes in so many configurations that you can pretty much mount and put any of the components wherever you want. The brake system, it's all using copper brake line. The rear line comes out to a proportioning valve that can be adjusted once the truck's up and running. That's pretty much a needed component. This master cylinder just happened to put the lines off to the engine side, so it adds a little bit more visual to the lines here, but it is what it is. All of my fittings on the steering are all basically adapter fittings to AN6. So everything's serviceable, replaceable. Just makes it super nice. And that's by Russell. In the front here, primary transmission cooler. And I kind of went a little bit crazy. I didn't want just hoses bent and hoses flopping, so I kind of did nice 90s here and there. Opened up this window more, so I get the hoses routed a little bit better. And then once the grill's on, you won't be able to really see any of it anyway. But primary cooler, so it comes out from the 4L60E output to the front cooler, out of the front cooler all the way down to the back, and goes into a Durali secondary cooler that can either be thermostatically turned on or hooked up to a manual switch. So between both coolers, no matter what he's doing, should keep that transmission nice and cool. So since we're talking about transmission, we are using a Winter Sidewinder shifter setup. I just got some 1/4 20 rib nuts in the floor so it can just be bolted in nice and easy. Got a rubber grommet through the floorboard, ran the cable down and out to the transmission. Same style shifter I'm running my Explorer, and it works really great. I like it. It just comes down. The only thing with this truck was the factory battery tray. I don't know, one of the batteries back in the day must have really been corroded and rusted out that factory battery pan, and that was already kind of taken out. No, it was still there. It was just really rusty. So I basically cut out the spot welds and then fabbed up this battery tray, and this is fully removable as well. That'll hold a factory size battery, which is what, a size 65, I think. The only thing we have to do yet is, once he sets the battery in here, just drill the 2 holes for the hold down, and that'll be complete. It's got brand new heater cores in it. All the fluids are fresh. All the filters have been changed. The motor and transmission are known to be good running, so we're hoping that's the case. But we'll find out, won't we? I know it's kind of been kind of wordy here, but I hope I covered every aspect of this build and the components and brands that I've used. If there's any other questions that you might have, just feel free to comment on the video, message me on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I'm available basically 3 different ways. So it's been an awesome project. I really like how this truck turned out. I really like how the wheelbase turned out. Again, moving the front end 2.5 inches farther than what normally we can. And then the back was moved back quite a bit more than what I thought. That 9-inch just has a lot narrower back part, the back of the housing, than like an 8.8. So I was able to set that axle basically almost within a 1/2 inch of the gas tank skid, and that pretty much brought the axle center line back, I think 5.5 inches from where it sits stock. So this truck is basically at 102.25 inches wheelbase, and the fenders and stuff don't look crazy cut out with 40s. So I think it turned out really sweet, and I do kind of like that we didn't have to cut the fenders. They're obviously not done. They need to be. I didn't want to be responsible for cutting the fenders 100%, so that'll be done by Jeff down the road. And then where else are we at? Oh yeah, so it's on the trailer. The next stop is I'm going to bring it down to our other buddy Brian Racy with Random Adventures on YouTube. He's going to finish up the radiator and hoses, and then he's got a really good exhaust guy down by him, so he's going to get the coolant system done, exhaust system done, and at that point it can start being wired up, and it's going to be controlled. The engine and everything's going to be controlled by a Holley EFI system. So it's a complete brand new Holley engine harness, computer. It can be programmed, tuned. It's going to be an awesome setup. And I believe Jeff bought, I don't know if it's a 7-inch or 8-inch LCD screen that's going to have all of his gauges on it. So he's going to have like real-time gauges in the truck, and that's a plug and play right with the Holley system. So our other buddy Eric Doucette, who's actually Holley EFI certified, he's going to be doing the engine and Holley setup. And then between Eric and Brian's basically going to mate all that to the truck body harness, and it should be ready to start up. All right, so like I said, stay tuned. Look for updates, pictures, videos in the future here. Like I said, the stuff that Brian's going to be taking care of, follow him at Random Adventures on YouTube. I'm sure he's going to be posting his updates as far as finishing this stuff up. And then he'll be posting stuff with the wiring and all that stuff. And the one thing I didn't talk about is we still need a transfer case shifter. So Jeff really wanted to utilize like a stock Silverado mechanical shifter, but the amount of time it would take to make that work and fit versus just going right to JB Fabrication and ordering a cable shifter that's ready to go. So that was just decided, which is why that's not done yet. So that's one more thing Brian will be taking care of, is a JB Fabrication TK shifter for that 241C. And then one other thing is, as far as the rear air locker goes, I'm not sure if Jeff wants to go with a air compressor for an air locker, or if he might do a power tank setup like Brian has done on his trucky build. So anyway, stay tuned. Trust me, there's more to come, more updates to come, and I can't wait to post this thing starting running and driving on its own, under its own power, and then eventually getting this thing out for a shakedown run. So like, comment, share, subscribe if you're not, and we'll see you on the next one.